Thank you to Pristine Auction for sponsoring today's video. If you don't know about PristineAuction.com, they're the most trusted sports memorabilia and collectibles auction site.
Auctions on PristineAuction.com start at just $1, and each day there are over thousands of autographed items available, so you can win signed authentic signatures at affordable prices. Affordable deals are happening all the time on PristineAuction.com. They have just about every player on the planet you could want. So if you want old school, new school, somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the future, I promise they don't have that, but they will have you covered otherwise.
Every item on PristineAuction.com comes with a certificate of authenticity from the industry's most reputable authenticators. Upgrade your collection of signed memorabilia today and get $10 off your first item when you use code DN2023.
Yep, that is code DN2023. Be sure to sign up now because there are deals ending every day. Links are in the description below of this video you're watching. Be sure to check them out, support them, support us, support the movement. There it is, coming at you live from DNHQ in beautiful South Pasadena, California. This is the Blue Heaven Podcast. You guys are now home with Jim Beam and Dodgers Nation. Please drink responsibly. What is going on, Dodgers Nation? My name is Clint. You can find me as Real FRG on Twitter and Instagram. That is Doug McCain, DMac_LA on Twitter, on Instagram, and on today's show, it's going to be a little. We're going to survive it. We're going to get through it. We're going to talk about it. The problem that's going on. Doug, how you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, tough topic today. Of course, a lot has happened over the weekend. A lot that's going to not only impact this Dodgers organization, but a lot as a whole for Julio Urias and his future in this league. So we're going to get into all that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of implications that are coming out of here, and whatever. It's obviously still an ongoing investigation, but chances are at this time of the season, it might be tough to see this guy back in the rotation. But yeah, we are going to talk Julio. We're going to talk about the latest and the opportunities that are going to come for this when it comes to the baseball team. Plus, we're going to touch a little bit on that Braves series as the Dodgers are about an hour away from playing the Marlins. Hey, we learned some things about this team maybe when they played the Braves. All that and a whole lot more on today's show. Got to remind you, we are trying to get our YouTube channel up to 70,000 subscribers, and we want your help doing that because we need you to subscribe for the subscriber count to go bigger. So if you're watching us and you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit it, hit the bell, knock it, whatever people say. And we are giving away a Mookie Betts jersey when we reach 70K. So that's pretty cool. Again, bell, like, all that kind of stuff. It really helps out the channel. And we will pick somebody from our subscriber list to send that jersey to. And it's going to be real and it's going to be beautiful. And Doug might touch it for you a little bit. I don't really know. So let's jump into the latest. Dave Roberts finally had an opportunity today to address the Julio situation. And shocked was the operative word coming out of Dave Roberts' mouth. And, of course, he and the teams, much like they said on their statement over the weekend, they're waiting out the process because everybody has very little information at this moment. But what are your thoughts on Dave?
Yeah, I mean, Dave's comments are interesting to say at least. The word shocked from someone that has already had some domestic violence issues in the past. I think a little tiny bit tone deaf in my opinion, but still I think this organization has to do what they need to do as far as really limiting their involvement in this investigation, because right now it's not in the Dodgers' hands at all whatsoever. It's a legal issue. It's Major League Baseball. Eventually will come in and place him on administrative leave. They'll do an investigation, and then ultimately they'll levy a punishment, and they'll most likely give him a suspension of some sort. But yeah, I think it's really heavy. I mean, this is serious. This is very serious. I mean, you're talking about someone that was charged with felony corporal injury against his spouse, and this took place, was reported by the LA Times, in an incident in the parking lot of BMO Stadium after the LAFC Miami game. Of course, a lot of celebrities in attendance. You had Kirsch, Mookie were there, lots of celebrities. And yeah, Selena Gomez, she was in the house. And yeah, I mean, that to me is kind of the jumping off point, is just the severity, how serious this is. You're talking about California Penal Code 273.5 APC, corporal injury to a spouse. And in that situation, that's when there's noticeable injury on the alleged victim, bruises or lacerations. You're talking about a possible imprisonment of 4 to 5 years. I mean, there's a lot of things that are at stake that where baseball is really the furthest thing from the conversation when it comes to Julio Urias. So, yeah, I mean, I think the first thing I kind of want to say is just the fact that, yeah, this is extremely serious. It goes beyond Major League Baseball. I think for Julio Urias, you guys know that throughout this show, my time at Dodgers Nation, I have been a big Julio Urias fan. I dubbed him the Urias. I was something that really a lot of fans, really, when you consider his history as far as a Mexican star pitcher, it meant more than just any other starting pitcher to this team. He was the continuation of Fernando Valenzuela and what he built in the early 80s. There are murals around this town from what happened in 2020. He got the final 7 outs of that World Series. But now, I mean, I feel, I don't want to say shocked because of his history, but I'm absolutely disgusted and horrified by what he has alleged to have done. Now, I've spoken to people, some of my sources that have told me that it's not just bad, it's really bad. Some eyewitness sources, and I don't want to get too into that, but
from what we've heard, it might end up turning out worse than just about anybody might have thought, which is horrible to think of.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think that I've seen people out there saying, okay, let's wait till the information and the details emerge. And absolutely, you have to do that. But this isn't a situation that, from what I've heard and from what it just feels like, just from even 10,000 miles up, right? It doesn't feel like it's a situation where it's a he say, she say type of situation. There's videos that exist. There were eyewitnesses and examples of people seeing what transpired. And it does not sound good for Julio Urias. And look, here's something else you need to know is that it was highly unlikely that he was ever going to pitch for the Dodgers after this year. I would say maybe less than a 10% chance. Now there's a 0% chance when you factor in how late it is in the year. No matter what emerges from his case, of course, he's set to, on September 27th, he's going to appear in Los Angeles Municipal Court. So when you consider how late in the year it is, and just how this organization has handled issues like this in the past, that, yeah, there's no way he's going to pitch for this organization again. But like I said, it goes beyond just Major League Baseball. You're talking about just an unacceptable, heinous act if this allegation is true.
Yeah, we got some comments coming in. DJ producer Noah on the board today. Of course, we got to be respectful with our comments today. So, guys, please choose to be respectful in the comments. If not, we might end the show early. We might kick you out of the chat because it's, again, we don't victim blame here. Even if you don't know what's going on, you also don't know what happened. Nobody really knows what happened but the people that were there. And you treat these things as fairly and honestly with every single one of these cases. So, what do we got?
Perfectly said, Clint. We got a question from Michael Carrillo, $2 super chat. Thank you, Michael. He
said,
will
not be dancing today.
No, not dancing today. But he said, do we lose a roster spot because of Julio?
No, when they go on administrative leave, which should be happening probably tomorrow, if not before Thursday. Of course, Julio was supposed to take down the start Thursday afternoon in Miami. That will just kind of be a restricted list spot in so many words, and the Dodgers will be able to replace that pitcher or that position.
Yeah, exactly. Administrative leave, it removes a player from a team's roster during an ongoing investigation into a potential violation of the sport's domestic violence policy. So, yeah, they're not going to lose that. And look, they have depth that they're going to be able to fill that in with. But, yeah, I think for Julio's sake, and I think another topic I see out there is how the Dodgers, what do they do swiftly? How do they react immediately? The reality is the Dodgers can't punish him. This is on Major League Baseball. This is bigger than what the Dodgers are able to do. So I think that's something you have to factor in as well. And no matter what charges as far as that he faces and what transpires, I mean, there's going to be consequences one way or the other, and that Major League Baseball, under their domestic violence and child abuse policy, it's not tied to the legal system. They can do whatever they want based on their private investigation. Of course, unfortunately, Dodgers fans are too well versed in this subject because of what happened with Trevor Bauer. We know what happened in that case. But yeah, I think when you put it all into perspective and you just think just how incredibly sad and unfortunate his rise and fall has been. I mean, you're talking about someone that the Dodgers found in 2015 when they were out to find Yasiel Puig. They signed him, and he was a phenom. He was the top prospect in baseball, the top pitching prospect. He makes his debut at the age of 19, and he was emerging as an iconic figure in this organization. Someone that was, of course, going to be a part of Dodgers lore forever based on the fact that he did get those final 7 outs and struck out Willie Adames. He is the indelible image of that championship run, and now you also talk about a guy that had so much at stake entering free agency this offseason. I think his floor was going to be something 7 years, $161 million, maybe a $23 million AAV, maybe something 7 years, $189 million, maybe if he figured things out the last couple weeks of the season, had a solid postseason, maybe $200+ million. Okay, so this is someone that had a lot of money on the line, and now his future in Major League Baseball is in doubt. You know what they say? First mistake, you can learn from that. That's a lesson. The second mistake, that's a choice, right? And this isn't Major League Baseball. It isn't 3 strikes, you're out. No one owes him anything. And it'll be very interesting to see moving forward if he has a future in this sport. I think, Clint, what it really comes down to is, does that video get released? And you saw with Ray Rice. Ray Rice, after that video was released, he never played another down in the NFL. So it's really going to come down to, will teams give him an opportunity moving forward? He still is very young. He just turned 27 on August 12th. So even if he's suspended for 2 or 3 years, he theoretically could be 30 and still have something left in the tank. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, you feel bad for the victim, everyone that this impacts, domestic violence victims all around, and it's just such a sad situation.
Yeah. Did you have anything else right now you wanted to get through?
No, I mean the big thing is just a lot of disappointment in the comment. I mean, that's just kind of the overall sentiment.
I think that's the overall thread for sure. And Doug, you touched on it. You know, that, like you said, the indelible image of this was the guy that brought helped bring home the first championship in more than 3 decades. And now that's something that's tarnished. That view, that look, it is 100% tarnished. Even if there are no charges filed, something happened. There probably will be charges filed, but hey, I ain't no big city lawyer, so you didn't. Don't take anything I say or take it with a grain of salt. Whatever people say, however words are supposed to work. But it leaves a bad taste in the mouth as a fan, and that's the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to this. Like you said, you know, when it comes to domestic violence, that ain't cool. And this has been Words with Uncle Clint. That's all I got. But the latest, again, the Dodgers, he did not travel. Julio did not travel with the team. He remains active at this time. Most likely will go on the administrative leave list by tomorrow or the latest on Thursday. And that should, at that point, effectively end his season. Because when we saw what the Wander Franco situation is a whole lot different, but they pretty much ended his season at that point to make it easier. We saw that with, like you mentioned, the Bauer situation. That time, they were doing it every 7 days, and it became a spectacle every single time they did it. So I think the Major League Baseball kind of learned from that, and they're just going to be like, look, there's 3 weeks left. Your court date isn't until the final week of the regular season. Let's just nip this in the bud now. You're done for the season, and then they'll from there levy whatever their ruling is. I mean, the investigation is going to take some time.
And I think it's important to note too, administrative leave is not a punishment. They still get paid, but then after the suspension, they can retroactively do what they need to do as far as adjusting. You even get accrue service time in those situations. And I think,
which is what happened with Julio in 2019.
Exactly.
He served 5 days of administrative leave. He got the 20-game suspension, and those 5 days were counted as time served.
They did, yeah. And I think you talk about Wander Franco's situation, and they basically agreed, MLB and MLBPA, to basically have the administrative leave until further notice, so you didn't have to continue to have these reports like we were doing with Trevor Bauer. Felt like every couple of months they extend his administrative leave every 7 days for a little days, and then it got longer than that. But yeah, I mean, you talk about Julio Urias and what happened in 2019. I think kind of want to touch on that a little bit too. Now, as far as what happened there, I've heard people out there saying 2019 this and 2019 that. That was a misdemeanor. This is a felony. Okay, this is something where there's some serious charges potentially based on these allegations. And in 2019, what happened there was Los Angeles. What happened at the Beverly Center, of course, the incident that was caught on a camera, of course, there was to an extent where people wanted to contact the authorities. And basically the LA City Attorney's Office said they were not going to file charges against him as long as the Dodgers and him agreed to have him participate in a 52-week domestic counseling program and committed to no acts of violence for the next year. And he said that he had changed. He said that he had, quote, taken proactive steps to help himself grow as a person on and off the field and in my relationship. So unfortunately, he did not learn his lessons from that. And I think another thing that's important to note, too, is that whenever a punishment does ultimately get levied, and certainly that's going to be the case. There's virtually no doubt that that doesn't happen. He'll be the first person. This is unprecedented to be the second person to be suspended in any of these. So we have never seen this before. So, I mean, look at what Trevor Bauer got. He's got his reduced down to 194 games. He wasn't charged for anything, but they had their own investigation with that. It'll be very interesting.
His situation, though, he did not cooperate and he did not take any
that's a great point.
culpability. He maintained that he did nothing wrong, and that's his right to maintain that. So MLB was like, if you're not going to say, hey, I'm sorry publicly, we're going to suspend you for 2 full seasons, and then it got reduced. Let's say, piggybacking off of what you said, Anthony Keene in the stream says, am I right that no one has ever had 2 DV suspensions from MLB? He's going to be lucky to ever play again. And when it comes to sport and the money-making power, he's going to play again, and that's,
See, I think I
take with that what you will, too.
I mean, look at Ozuna, you look at some guys that have had domestic violence issues in their past, and they're back playing again. So I think, I wouldn't be shocked to see him play again, especially when you consider his age, and teams out there might want to give him a third chance. But like I said, there's a third chance situation for Julio Urias. First time, it's a mistake. Second time, it's a choice, right? So, if I'm a team out there, if a video surfaces where it's as bad as people at the scene who I've talked to have described, then I think that'd be tough sledding to really want to pursue that. But I think, hey, if you look at Julio Urias and everything that really has transpired in his career and what's happened this year, it's really interesting. I was at the game Friday night. I was covering the game Friday night, and he just did not – I'm not saying they were correlated at all, but I'm just saying that he just did not look like the Julio Urias that I've seen in the last 2 years doing this. I mean, he didn't have that same – joy on the mound. You saw him showing up the umpire. You saw him looking frustrated. He didn't cover home plate during one play, and apparently Oral Hershiser pointed out during the broadcast, even after the game during the post-game press conference, he's usually one of the more engaged pitchers and giving you pretty thorough answers and really like a good account of what actually happened in the game. But he was very short. He looked like he was a little standoffish. He wasn't making eye contact at all. And he just did not look like he was in a good place. And I think for Julio Urias this is definitely a player that everyone knows as far as what he's capable of and what he's accomplished within this organization. But it also feels like there's always been this detachment between him and the fan base. I remember asking him this year during the Fan Fest how important it was for him to be in Los Angeles, to be a Mexican star, and how much this community has embraced him. And he said it's really meant a lot to him and how big that was, but also felt like, it was GPT answer, right? It felt like it was kind of a stock answer from that, and that's how it always kind of feels like when it is Julio Urias. So, I think that just kind of moving forward, it's kind of looking back at his time with the Dodgers, it's going to be a big what if. I mean, this is a guy who could have ended his career here and gone down as maybe a top 10 or 15 all-time beloved Dodgers based on what he's accomplished.
Yeah, it's definitely, again, from the fan perspective, it's painful to think of, but that's, in the grand scheme of things, it's the least important part of it. But for us, that's how we're connected to it. Noah, I know you got some stuff going on in the chat. What do you got?
Just a lot of questions I know we're kind of getting to, so I figured it could be a little segue of like, what is this rotation look like now, especially come postseason? People are talking about the young kids, people like, Emmett Sheen, Bobby Miller, Ryan Pepio, and then people are like Lance Lynn. So I know you're going to get to
He's
that.
Not the young guy, but
well, no, I'm just saying also Lance Lynn.
But
a lot of questions about like, what does this mean come October now?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what we're going to hit next. It's like, let's move off of this and let's try to make it about the team again. Let's bring you back into a regularly scheduled-ish blue heaven as much as we can in the situation. But there are going to be postseason roster and rotation implications from this. And, admittedly, Julio has not looked good this year on the mound, and clearly he's had some mental things going on that haven't put him in the best mindset. So if we're looking at this from a team perspective, it's like, if he's not right, he shouldn't be out there. If you're not right, respect your own mental health, and also at the same time, respect your team. If you're not in a position to be able to compete at the highest level, you got to voice that and be like, look, I shouldn't be out here, and give an opportunity to some of the guys like Noah's saying. You got Emachine. You got, of course, Ryan Pepio, who clearly has some pep and estepio on the mound since coming back from that long oblique injury. And even, diving deeper, you still got, Gavin Stone. You still have, I haven't seen him in a while now, so I forgot the name again. Like good old fashioned times, Michael Grove.
He's gonna be back.
And there's other guys. Ryan Yarbrough's an option, but what do you think? What happens first with the rotation for the rest of the regular season, in your opinion? And then let's look a little bit at postseason.
Yeah, I think one thing I find very interesting about this is that we've been having a lot of discussions about Julio Urias' role in the postseason, in this rotation moving forward. And, of course, it's been well documented that he has had himself a down year. You're talking about a pitcher that had a combined ERA of 2.57 in the last 2 years. He was their opening day starter. He finished third in the NL Cy Young Award voting. This year, a 4.6 ERA. The home runs were an issue. The command was an issue. The velocity was down. He was really having the worst year of his professional career. And there were some thoughts of, okay, is he a game 1 or 2 starter? I had Kershaw as my game 1 starter, but the reason why I had Urias as my game 2 starter is because I know within this organization, the way Dave Roberts handles things, that even if Bobby Miller threw 14 no-hitters in a row, he was probably going to still go with Julio Urias as his game 1 or 2 starter based on his track record, based on what he's done in the past. But now I also think, too, is this is a situation where the Dodgers, they can objectively evaluate who's in their rotation moving forward. You don't have these ties. Clayton Kershaw, of course, my believers in Christianity, he's Goat Shaw, he's game 1 because he's deserved it, and he's had a great year when he's been on there on the mound.
He's been the best pitcher on the team when he's on the mound.
I agree.
The numbers tell you that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think lately Kersh in his 4 starts back from the IL, 2.12 ERA, FIP a little high, 5.61, strikeout rate, 23.1. The velo's down a little bit. So, yeah, I think he's still getting back to where he was before the injury. But as far as game 1, he gets the ball. There's no question about that. Game 2, I think that's Bobby Miller's game now at this point, based on what we've seen. We've seen him twice handle this Braves lineup. I mean, he had retired 16 batters in a row at one point. He's been really dominant against his Braves team twice, really handle them. And look, I think
handle pressure.
And handle pressure too. And I think, like I said, Bobby Miller with postseason adrenaline, you're going to see the first 200-mile-per-hour fastball in big league history. But I find it very interesting, the evolution of Bobby Miller. And you're seeing his averages. He averaged a little under 99 on the sinker and the four-seam. When the velo's down just a tick, the command is better. He lives in the zone. He gets ahead in the count. And then he allows that changeup. He allows his secondary pitches to play up. It's like, come for the velocity, stay for the secondary pitches, because those are his best pitches. And you saw that on display. We also saw the at-bat against Acuna Jr., challenging the second best player in the National League of the Mookie Betts, okay, and challenging him in the zone with the fastball. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that's going to play up in the postseason. So I think he's solidified himself as a legitimate ace, someone that is going to be undoubtedly your number 2, game 2 starter in this postseason rotation. But after that, I think what this does, as far as the impact of Julio Urias, is this completely impacts and magnifies the need for Walker Buehler. You need to get Walker Buehler back, and you need him to be pitching at least 4 innings in a postseason game for this team to have a chance. So I think that's my game 3 start. I think you're going to see a piggyback situation with any of these guys. I mean, you can combine a Ryan Yarbrough. You can combine an Emmett Sheehan, who looked really good, went 4 innings, gave just the home run. His stuff, I think, is going to play up in the postseason. You got the ride and run on his heater. I think is one of the best 4-seam fastballs in the game. And I also think Pepio is someone that continues to gain momentum. So I think, of course, I see some takes out there, Clint, saying, oh, this is some type of addition by subtraction and that this team is better off without Julio Urias. Don't kid yourself, man. That's just not the case. This is someone who has performed well in the postseason. Even in the worst case scenario, you could throw him in the bullpen, right? And see if he did in 2020. But I still think that there is enough depth here to where you can say, okay, if some of these young guys emerge, hey, maybe the sky's the limit. And there's kind of less pressure on this team now, too, I think.
Yeah, I'd say Walker Buehler is the X factor in this whole thing. I think Ryan Pepio is going to get a strong look after the 10th because there's service time, we'll say, conflicts
He's got the Sunday Swagger endorsements. He's fine. He's got all that.
But yeah, when it comes to Bobby Miller, he's definitely number 2. And, like I always say, if you want the dub, you got to keep them off balance.
There you
gotta
go.
Keep the
There
hitters
has
off
a nice
balance.
ring to it.
I was waiting.
You've always been saying
yeah,
that.
I've been saying that
always.
since we saw him
You
in spring
promised,
training. I
so-
promised.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, but look, that's kind of the trend. I mean, look,
But
you
yeah,
look-
to be able to know that you're throwing big game Bobby Ice at home in game 2 of the postseason, that makes me feel a little excited, to be honest.
Exactly. We could be seeing the birth of a star, the birth of the future generation of Dodgers
Buehler
pitching.
2.0.
And Buehler,
Hopefully he doesn't give up a grand slam to Acuna like
like
he
saw in
did,
2018. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, but I think the thing about Bobby Miller is you can't expect him to go out there and be perfect. He's not that kind of pitcher. You're not going to see him with elevated four-seam fastballs with the perceived rise like we saw from 2018 Buehler. But he's a guy that goes out there and he figures things out little by little.
Yeah.
You've heard people talk about how much of a great listener he is, how much he's picked up from Lance Lynn. I think he's ready for this opportunity. I think he's built for this. I think he's got that main character energy that you hear people talk about. And I think there's no doubt about it that he's someone that is going to.
I like the main character energy, by the way. That was a good tweet from Doug. Follow at DMAC_.
I just think that he's someone that they didn't expect to look this good this early in his career. But some guys, I mean, some players, look at the Fernando Valenzuelas. Some players that are built for this, when the light turns on, when the lights turn bright, they step up. And I think he's going to elevate his game in the postseason. I think that he's ready for this opportunity. Now, another interesting conversation, too, is just the fact that, look, Clint, years past, we're not going to be seeing those rotations where you got games 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're going to have to piecemeal this together and count those 27 outs.
They've been better at in the postseasons past when they have the set game plan. This person's going to start. This person's going to start. They threw that in the trash in 2020, and it worked. It worked very well. They tried to go a little more traditional. 21, they fell apart. 22, it felt a little more traditional, and then you ran into a buzzsaw with the Padres, who never could reach those heights again, apparently. But that makes it's another thing. You add that to the pile of excitement for this upcoming postseason, is that it could be a little bit different. And that when as we've said earlier this year, Dave's kind of operating like out of his bag, I think we called it, and that's a good thing. Dave is in my opinion, again, this is Dave Roberts' best season as a manager. He's been thrown a lot of curveballs, and he's handling them with a style and aplomb, because Dave is still always the happiest fella out there. Yeah. But it's going to be a good situation with the Yarbrough pickup. If Lynn can get it back on track after these last 2 crappy outings, which we figure he should be able to. And then again, Bobby Miller is kind of a dude.
Yeah.
You or you?
Really quickly, I want to interrupt you
This
guys
guy, no.
because I asked
Go
in the
off,
comments.
go off, King.
Okay. I asked in the comments what people's Dodgers postseason rotation looks like.
What are your thoughts?
So we got some. Mitchell Hopkins said 1 Kershaw, 2 Lynn, 3 Miller, 4 Buehler and Yarbrough piggyback. We got Hepatitis C later said Kersh, Bobby, Lynn, and then a Sheehan/Pepio piggyback with Yarbrough in there as a lefty specialist. We got D-Mac's father.
Yo, what up, Pops?
Okay. Said Bobby, Kershaw, Lynn, Sheehan, and then he also had a Buehler and Pepio as piggyback option. One's Zard Sire 201 said Kersh, Miller, Lynn, Buehler, and then Pepio is in there too. Daniel Macy said Kersh, Miller, Lynn, Pepio, and then Sheehan's the last one in there. Obviously, you only need 4 in the postseason, and then Paul T said Kersh, Lynn, Miller, Pepio, and he had some Gavin Stone in there. So kind of a lot of different ways the Dodgers could go.
Stoner also he's kind of been
pitched
back
well
on.
late,
he has been
got
good.
back on track, and I think he tossed 7 innings after Buehler to complete that big time OKC win. Was it Saturday, Sunday, whenever it was? So that's another option. This might be a better situation than Dodgers have been in starting pitching wise than they have been for the last 2 years. Walker, let's talk more Walker, because Buehler did throw Sunday, 2 perfect innings, debuted a new delivery. Looks a little simpler, a little cleaner. Probably not going to see the same 99 out of Walker anymore, potentially, but that's kind of okay. But watching him get through that, and then hearing Dave talked about it today, no ill effects coming out of that, and the plan is he's going to start again on Friday. Is the Walker Buehler dream seeming more like a reality?
I think it's not only it's a reality, it's absolutely essential, and that this team won't come close to a World Series title if they don't get something out of him. I think that what you saw from his first rehab start was very encouraging. The first thing I was looking at was that velocity. How did it look? I mean, if you look at, he averaged 94.4 miles per hour. He topped out at 96.1 miles per hour on his heater, which is, of course, not like the Walker Buehler of old.
First start.
And he's going to ramp up. He still has,
he didn't blow out his elbow, but still.
Yeah, he's got 3 or 4 more opportunities to get that back up. But if you compare that 94.4 miles per hour to what we saw in 2021 and 2022, he averaged 95.2 miles per hour, 95.3. So he's not that far off. I think people forget there was this era after the 2020 Walker Buehler.
He's starting to learn how to be a pitcher.
Yeah, exactly. More
of
a pitcher.
Thrower when he came up, and I mean, we've seen that with Bobby. Even Bobby Miller's starting to come down a little bit. Even if it's not 101, it's 99. It's still coming down a little bit, like you're saying. Commanding the ball a little bit better, baseball a little bit better. If you get that out of Walker Buehler as well, you plug him in. Even if he's built up to 4 innings, and we should note he doesn't need, even if he's not 100% ready, he doesn't need to be 100% ready for Game 1 of the postseason.
Exactly. He does not need to be ready for Game 1. You really only need 3 starters there in the NLDS. If he can just kind of dip his toes in the water at some point to really just get that little dip there, get that postseason feel going, I think it would be big. But also think, too, if you're Walker Buehler, you now are even more motivated to come back and help this team win. Walker Buehler is a team player. He's someone that's motivated to win. I think that he wants to make a last ride with Clayton Kershaw, right? And like to your point a few seconds ago, yeah, he is someone that's changed his pitching style. Early on in his career, he made no secret about it. They asked Walker Buehler, they said, hey, you like striking guys out? He's like, that's my thing. I like to punch guys out, right? But he realized that doing a little more pitch to contact, going with those secondary pitches, the way that he was throwing those cutters and sinkers and curveballs in tiers, you were already seeing the different tiers of velocity from the fastballs to the cutter to the curveball. So, yeah, that's definitely something that you have to feel good about if you're Buehler. Now, I think the next big step is you want to see a little more swing and miss. You got 1 swing and miss. There were a couple of hard hit balls in there. But, yeah, the fact that he is back and he hadn't pitched in 451 days, almost 15 months, the fact that he's back this quickly. I mean, we're talking about a guy who got a Tommy John surgery back in August, his second Tommy John surgery, right? And there's 2 pitchers, right? There's pitchers that, no, I won't do it. That had Tommy's, okay. But no, I think we
just do it. Just do it. You know you want to do it.
Okay.
Just say the type of picture.
Brad Pitt, the GM of the Oakland A's. So there's 2 type of pitchers, ones that have gotten Tommy John surgery and ones that will have Tommy John surgery. And I think in this process, when you consider the fact that it's his second invasive surgery, the flexor tendon repair in his right elbow, that he understands his process better than anyone out there. And I did want to touch on that, his windup, though, because before he was Walker Buehler that we know him, back in 2015, when he was at Vanderbilt, he's a big Vanderbilt guy, by the way, best uniforms in college baseball. I love those black pinstripes.
Now we all know.
But I would say that back then, that's what his release looked like. He didn't go with the overhead windup, but also back
I remember when he brought in the overhead
windup. Yeah, he brought it in. I mean,
doing?
he wanted to be a classic pitcher. I mean, it was for style, but also there's some benefits to it. They say it makes your release more fluid to the plate. It kind of lines your hips, and you can get 1 to 3 miles per hour of increased velocity by going to that overhead windup. So, yeah, he has done it in the past, but at Vanderbilt, he threw between 92 and 96, and then he had that Tommy John surgery, and the reason for that is why he dropped to the Dodgers with the 24th overall pick. If he didn't have that, he would have been a top 10 pick, no question about it. So he has gone to this delivery in the past, but it makes you wonder, is he going to just be a more efficient pitcher that's more pitch to contact and finding a way to get outs? Or have we seen the last of Butane? Have we seen the last of guy overhead 98, 99 pumping gas and throwing it by you? I think that's going to be the very interesting thing. I think it could be an evolution where he's saying to himself, this is the best way to get back on the mound this year, and then we'll reevaluate after we get that experience again.
Fine.
Exactly. Perfect.
Just be serviceable. Get some outs, and then you can get back into style again in 2024. And I think we're in a good spot. It looks like the stream, we might have been losing some internet here and there. I don't know if you guys were seeing it, but it was dipping in and out. So I hope you guys can hear us okay. What you got for us, Noah?
Really, like Walker Buehler said that if the stream hit 300 likes, and he'd make a big impact in the postseason. So
Yeah, let's go. Get those likes up.
So we're at 106 right now. So like we're getting close to making it.
400 is the Shuey mark for
No,
today.
the 300 is for Buehler to
Can't
make
do
an
a
impact
Shuey.
in the postseason.
No
So,
Shuey. I ban the Shuey
so
today.
just as a note, you know.
Let's get into some of the comments here. Mike Saldana, who's had a few good comments in here. Appreciate you, Mike. He said he'd rather preserve Buehler for next season. I do agree with Doug. It's like, hey, at this point, it's kind of necessity season to have Walker in there because I'm also a little uncomfortable if you're throwing, up to, 2 or 3 rookies out there, potentially opening games. That might be a little much for my enjoyment, considering, Sheehan hasn't necessarily been great. Stone hasn't necessarily been great. You really only want to see Bobby in there, but Hepatitis C later says, never trust guys in contract years. So people in the stream were talking about Blake Snell and the idea of bringing, obviously you can't get him now, but that in the offseason. I'm sure you guys will see at least, I'm gonna put a number on it right now. 24 videos in the offseason about Blake Snell from Doug McCain. So sign up.
I'll hit that.
At least 24.
I'll get the over on that. I'll get the over on that.
There'll be a lot of articles too on DodgersNation.com.
Get those jersey swaps cooked up. Yeah.
Speaking of jerseys, we're giving away a Mookie Betts jersey. So you guys should be subscribing to youtube.com/DodgersNationTV once we hit 70,000 subscribers. And we are so close. You guys have been great at getting us to that number. Once we hit 70K, we are using one of those randomizers. We'll do it live right here on this show, and we will pick a winner, and we'll find out their size, and then we'll send it to us just so Doug could wear it awkwardly, and then we'll send it to you. Because that just sounds like more fun to me and more steps. And who doesn't love more steps before the postseason?
I want a D-Mac Warren jersey.
Let's go. I got you. How about a polo?
Kick it.
How about a polo?
Some people are talking about chunky Linsanity in the stream. Is he a little too overweight for this? This is pitching weight, Just let it eat, as they say in the biz.
Literally. You said it.
You being mean? Osotastic says, any update on Blake Trinan? Pretty much done for the year. Like, he's not an option. I think he's going to probably throw once or twice, but he's not going to do it for the Dodgers. You won't see him with the Dodgers.
He's hanging out with Cole Hamels and Danny Duffy, man. I mean,
the
yeah,
Dodgers.
it ain't happening. Yeah, they did not go well.
Why?
He felt soreness. Yeah, it's highly unlikely that he'll be back.
Let's see. We have Boomer Assassin asking for a 200-like Shuey. No, we will not do that. No. We do not do that. So let's move on. A guy like this one who said it. Joel Rodriguez. Dodgers need to sign Bartolo Colon for the postseason. Let's go, but they can't because he would no longer be postseason roster eligible.
I see another question in there. You think you know me 26 at Daniel Hudson? ?
Why is this guy threatening me? You think you know me? 26? Hudson, there's a slight amount of hope, but at this point in the season, similar with like Yency Almonte, it's like both guys dealing with knee issues. They haven't really gotten off a mound yet. So with it being September 5th, it's tough to see either of those guys being an option for the postseason
I got a question
roster.
for Doug here from Fernando Martinez.
What up?
He said, isn't Noah Syndergaard available?
Yeah, bring him back. I mean, right? Hey, I said before the season would be a big
No,
disappointment.
you
but
said he was going to be an all-star, didn't you?
Let's just not talk about Noah Syndergaard.
12 minutes into the video on March 28th. But yeah, no, look, I mean,
he's like being legit.
Yeah, I know that's real. I know.
look, I mean, I think Hudson is still probably a long shot to return this season, but I think that
less of a long shot than Trinan, but still a long shot. Yeah.
the thing about him is you have to factor in that it's not his arm, right? I mean, he even told the LA Times, he was saying this was felt like some cruel, sick joke. The fact it wasn't one of his arms, it's his legs, his lower body that's keeping him off the mound. But yeah, if he's someone that can help this team, I mean, I think that he'd be fine with returning. You're talking about Walker Buehler a few minutes ago and not using him this year because they need him for next year. Daniel Hudson, he could come back and just go to the wheels fall off because this could be his last ride. So yeah, I wouldn't rule that out. I think everyone that's in the mix, except for Blake Trinan, as far as the guys that we've seen on the return. I even heard Jimmy Nelson looked okay
he's
over
all
the
of a
weekend.
sudden
So
kinda coming back.
There's a possibility with that. So I think what this team's going to do, like I said, it's going to be a very clear evaluation. And I think it's really tough to truly assess this postseason rotation. I think the most difficult thing is you don't know what you don't know with these young guys. We know they have the talent, but are they going to be able to step up? Are they going to be able to handle the adrenaline and the pressure of pitching in a postseason environment? Because we've seen not everyone can handle that. I mean, we've seen pitchers in the past not be able to excel in these situations. So I think for the most part, yeah, it's definitely a situation where you can be optimistic because the talent is there. But for anyone to act like, okay, these guys are all going to pitch well, I think that, hey, we need to see it. It's the mystery box. We got to open that mystery box and see what's inside before we can make that determination. So, yeah.
Open the box.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, basically, when you put it into perspective, you have Clayton Kershaw and a bunch of rookies and Lance Lynn. Okay? And Lance Lynn.
You have all of the world's most veteran-y guys you can get. Is some kids.
Yeah.
Ready to roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And thankfully, lots of talent there. And you got guys that were college players. They've had tons of experience. They've had experience this season.
Yeah.
And I think looking back now, that's definitely something that it would turn into a silver line. The fact that they did get their opportunities.
No, give me some stuff.
Really quickly, Roy Estrada just said update on JD Martinez. He's going on a rehab assignment today. He's supposed to be back sometime this
Planet
series.
Sugarland.
And then we got a question. Someone must have seen the Dodgers Nation article on DodgersNation.com that AJ Pollock was released. Someone wants to know if there's any chance that he comes back to the Dodgers, even though the answer is no.
So there's 0, and then there's less than 0, and then there's AJ Pollock.
Yeah, exactly.
That's at some point, you wonder what's going to happen with like Jake Marisnick. Is he ever going to be somebody? He's not.
I mean,
he's
like you said,
he's
also
not a roster guy, but
AJ Pollock, his last year was. I mean, he should have retired last year. Okay, he's been so bad with the Mariners, but shout out to the Giants for giving him that opportunity to make that 10 years. So now he could be in the league for 10 years and accrue those benefits.
Is that what it was? Is that what happened?
Well, probably.
I don't think it was that.
I'm just kind of spitballing about possibility of the fact that he does get to reach that, but he's not postseason eligible. But I will say, as bad as Craig Kimbrell was, he still was better than AJ Pollock. At least served some purpose.
I don't think. I mean, good careers go to die in Chicago at the White Sox. So he went there. It was all bad, and then didn't really have necessarily, I think, much of a role in Seattle. Plus, his spirit was already gone. He was traded away from a team he enjoyed, which were the Los Angeles Dodgers. And
he's made $88 million in his career, so he's winning.
Yeah,
top of my head. I think.
Hey, if he just had those fewer, we've talked about this, fewer at bats in 21, just a couple fewer, he could have elected free agency. He could have secured another bag.
That's true.
So he really got screwed in that situation. But let's move on. Let's look back a little bit at the Braves series. Dodgers lose 3 of 4. Fans were ready to be frustrated on. I appreciate it. That was good. It was good timing. You really wanted to push that button.
I had to get one in there today.
That's
I just got to get that in.
Lose 3 of 4. Didn't look great doing it. Of course, we're not playing at full health. Did not have a full roster. Missing some key pitchers. And, of course, the aforementioned JD Martinez. Doug, to you, was there anything major or concerning coming out of this series?
Well, I think my first big takeaway is that lineup is ferocious. That lineup is dangerous. They hit 8 home runs over the weekend. It felt like a lineup that was filled of just Pablo Sanchez's from Backyard Baseball, just absolutely dominant out there. And you saw the power, but on the reality is, though, the Dodgers, they could have taken 3 or 4. I mean, they lost 7-6 in the first game. If Mookie has that hit down the line in the third game they probably win that game.
Yeah.
So there was a universe where the Dodgers could have taken 3 out of 4. They could have split. Julio, he had a bad start on Friday. Lance Lynn, the homer problems, they resurfaced against this lineup. So I think the biggest takeaway is, the Braves, they are a better team from top to bottom. I think the depth of their lineup, especially towards the 7, 8, 9 hitters, and of course, Ronald Acuna Jr., I'm pretty sure that ball hasn't landed. I mean, the ball's halfway to the moon at this point, the hardest hit ball this season. That was tough off our boy Emmett Sheehan there, but still, I think that this team, I don't think the gap is as wide as many of the East Coast analysts want to lead you to believe, as some Dodger fans that
Fully
the
agree,
Doomsday Dodgers fans are kind of saying at this point, because the reality is, look, the pitching, you didn't see Clayton Kershaw in that series. You didn't see Joe Kelly and some of their better relievers. So, one, the lineups aren't going to be the same, but I still think that, it's definitely going to be a tough task to face this lineup in the postseason. But guess what? Who was the better team in 2021? The Dodgers were the better better team in 2021.
Dodgers better.
And they still lost. So anything can happen in this series. And I think that if these two teams face off, which we need to see, I think the Dodgers, they could get the advantage in the second round.
Yeah, having health, you brought it up, the close games, that gives, as a Dodger fan, that gives me enough hope or reassurance that it's not going to be, they're not going to be any runaway games. Even the games where they were down, they came back, they put up a fight. That's what this team does. That's what this roster does. They battle and they find a way to put runs on the board. My hot take from the series, I think, I don't know if you want to say it, that Mookie lost the MVP in the series or Ronald Acuna retook the lead in the MVP race. But I think Acuna in that series, with the eyes that were on it, the type of series he had, he's going to be the MVP.
I mean, I think so that's how the voters are going to think, right? I mean, that's
what it's all about. It's about what have you done for me when it's time to vote.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, first of all, like I said, both those guys are picking between a Bentley and a Ferrari. They're both elite. They're both top of the line. They're both top shelf, top tier. MVP. But I still will say, yeah, that'd be great. It's pretty much impossible to do with the voting, but I think that Acuna, he showed out, hit that home run. That went viral. How about Mookie Betts? He had 2 home runs in the first game, and he had 3 hits in the last game. Definitely was pressing there on the Saturday game. I thought the at-bat quality, chasing
base running
out of the zone. Yeah, exactly. So, but the reality is, even after this series offensively, Mookie's still a 175 weighted runs created plus, so he's 75% above league average. Ronald Acuna Jr., a 167 weighted runs created plus. And how about this? Mookie is kind of catching up as far as overall batting average. So 335 for Acuna Jr. and 316 for Mookie.
Super close.
The reality is Mookie had a better season. I mean, this would be an absolute travesty. I mean, I'm telling you, Mookie is
stolen bases and 121-mile-an-hour exit velocity against the Dodgers. Isn't that all that matters?
I mean, that's like, okay, so basically we're giving him an award for accomplishing something, which, like I said, it's great. First 60-30 guy. He'll end up being the first 70-30 guy. But the first season, when you make it easier to do that, in stealing bases, pizza box bases, the engagement rules, and because he does that, then you give him the MVP, that award. That'd be like if you move the fences in by 30 feet and he had juice balls and you give the award to the guy who's hitting on the home runs. I mean, the reality is he took advantage of something that was put in place to increase stolen bases. So I still think that Mookie's the better player, but I do think you're right, and that the narrative, which is the most important thing, and the fact that he established that narrative early on this season, that I think that does go in, it kind of tips the scales in his favor. Then also, too, kind of if you're a voter that's looking, okay, they both had great years, who had the better team?
Yeah.
And then you kind of say the Braves.
Acuna's been the clubhouse leader for most of the season, best player on the best team. That's what's going to supersede Mookie having, a God mode August and then 2 or 3, also really good months, and then his bad April.
Yeah,
I mean, Mookie's getting with 40 home runs, 100 plus RBIs.
Yeah, I heard if the stream got 300 likes, Mookie would win MVP. So we're halfway
Hey,
there.
Mookie's going to win World Series MVP. That's all that matters.
I don't think we're going to get there. Anything
Halfway
crispy going on in the comments?
A lot of people talking about the MVP. There were some people like you thought that Acuna did win it this week, but also got Bruce Davis said, we want World Series win, not MVP garbage. Bruce, that is the spirit.
Let him know.
Mike Saldanis, I don't think the Dodgers showed all their cards in that series against the Braves. I mean, like you said, Kershaw didn't start.
Yeah.
Obviously, JD Martinez wasn't in there. I honestly thought it was good for the Dodgers to get punched in the mouth a little bit because I think that they were kind of riding the high of August. And it was good for them to kind of get a little reality check, come back down to earth.
Snap back to reality.
Say,
there goes Dave Robertson.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, know that it's going to be different in the postseason. But yeah, I thought getting that last win was the most important, just to at least go out knowing, hey, we can beat this team,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they just got to bounce back. I think another big takeaway from this series is how important is home field advantage really? I mean, you talk about this Dodgers team that took 2 out of 3 against Atlanta back in May. They could have swept that series. The Braves take 3 of 4 from the Dodgers in LA. When these teams are as talented as they are, and it's razor thin on the margins, I don't think that home field advantage is going to play as big of a factor as some people might think. I think it'd be great to have, but guess what? Julio Urias is not on the team anymore. You don't see those home road splits. I mean, I think that home field advantage is not going to be as pivotal. I mean, I still think that the Dodgers have a puncher's chance in that series. I still think that they're a team that's going to absolutely match up well when it all matters most. And the key really is find a way to get this matchup and get to the NLCS, because these two teams, they need to face each other, and we need to see who truly is the best of the bunch. But I do think that home field advantage is a little bit overblown. I will say, too, the number one takeaway I have from this series, and we talked about it earlier, Bobby Miller. Okay? If you want the dub, you gotta shove, you gotta mitigate the slug.
You gotta keep your opponents off balance. If you want the dub, you gotta have more points than the other team.
That's the case. There you go. Finish with one more run. So
that one's for Cody Lou.
Yeah, I do think that he is going to be taking a lot of confidence from this start, knowing that he was able to have that much success against this potent lineup. I mean, you're talking about, like I said, the first lineup that's going to slug 500 in a season, 7 guys that have hit 20 home runs, and to know that you can face these hitters and go 16 batters without giving up a hit, retire 16 in a row, take it all the way to the 7th inning. Matt Olson, he hit that home run, left that changeup up a little bit, but for the most part, I think Bobby Miller knows at this point that, hey, I'm a dude. I'm a guy that it doesn't matter who you throw out there at the plate. I'm going to attack them with my stuff. I'm not going to be nibbling. And I think Bobby Miller, he feels like he's a guy they can trust in this series when they match up inevitably in the NLCS. So to me, I feel pretty good about this team. Also, you got to shout out the bullpen. I mean, Shelby Miller, he looked really good in his return. He pitched well. Brusdar Graterol, Evan Phillips, I still think is one of the better relievers in the sport. And you look at what they did on the game on Saturday after Alex Vesia came in, and he stunk up the joint a little bit, and he had some bad moments there. I mean, the bullpen, they pitched every well, but it's not like, oh, yeah, the Braves, they took 3 out of 4, and they beat the number 2 out of the Dodgers. That wasn't the case, right? The Dodgers, they were in most of these games. The Friday night game was the worst of them, but for the most part, this Dodgers team matches up well, and I think that these two teams, Major League Baseball, without the Yankees, without these big markets, the Yankees, without Shohei Ohtani, with all these guys in there, I think baseball, they need this matchup more than ever. I think it's pretty much the best matchup in baseball at this point. I think whoever wins that matchup goes on to win the World Series.
Yeah,
What do you got?
Well, I got a good comment here from Joe Mama. We thought the shot taker. We doing that, or? I think I got what the
Hornitos shot taker of the day.
The Hornito shot taker of the day from Joe Mama said, if you want the dub, you gotta play small as well as big ball, my dudes. I mean, he gets it. This guy gets it.
Doug, I love Joe Mama.
Hey, it's the truth. Look,
Thank you for being our Hornitos shot taker of the day, guys. Drink responsibly. Drink Hornitos. It's yummy.
There's a couple ways to think about it, though. I mean, yes, that is the case. But like I said, this team, with the lineup they have, JD Martinez, Will Smith, who has started to show some signs of being like the Will Smith we've seen of old, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, these guys are all stuck to their approach. Jason Hayward is someone who's had a lot of success too, and he's going to be a guy that's going to go up there and try to slug as well. But the reality is, when you outslug your opponent in the postseason, you win the games by an over 80% clip.
Wait,
you know what they say?
Are you
when you
saying
outslug your
that
opponent,
if you want the dub,
You got to slug.
you have to slug?
Absolutely, you do. But the reality is,
we
though,
really need to make that a shirt already.
have it.
Who in the comments can make a shirt for us?
you have a Freddie Freeman, you have a David Peralta.
Where's my boy Cooper Neal at? That guy's
You have a James Alvin who won
I love that guy.
the Rookie of the Month for August. So you have guys that bring a more dynamic approach to the plate when you need it. And it's the truth. I mean, look, anytime you're going to be facing any of these top-heavy rotations, and that is something the Braves have. You have a Spencer Strider. You have Quadzilla. You have a Charlie Morton who's had success against this lineup. You have Max Fried, who was looking fantastic out there doing his best Sandy Koufax impression against the Dodgers. When you have these top-heavy lineup, I think you really have to find a way to get base hits to try to limit those cold spells. There's no doubt about that. But I do think at the end of the day, if you look at the box scores of these postseason games, when you out-homer your opponent like the Dodgers do, for the most part, they win games. And there was a point at this season where the Dodgers, they were like 4-19 in games where they didn't hit a home run. So this team does rely on the home run ball.
Slug reliant. We know that.
Over 50% of their runs are from home runs. The top 2 teams in the league are the Dodgers and the Braves.
They must really love their dubs.
Yeah, they love slugging.
The top 2 teams in Major League Baseball, who over 50% of their runs come via the home run ball, are also the 2 best teams in the National League. It tells you where this league is going. Small ball is overrated.
What I'm gathering from you in this segment is that you did want to talk about the Braves and all the things that came out of that series.
I mean, I'm pretty obsessed with the Braves.
Because
Okay,
we weren't going to talk about it for a little bit, and then like literally 2 minutes before the show, yeah, we're going to talk about the Braves, right? And that is like, all right, here's 25 minutes about the Braves. It's good stuff.
So you did live to the hype? Did the series live to the hype to you?
It was.
kinda
Not
boring.
really, yeah. It was kind of
No,
mid.
Buddy
I mean,
says
like
no.
game one was fun. When, like,
Baseball
the Dodgers
didn't even
tried
hype
to-
it up. They
I know
didn't hype
they
it
didn't
up
have a
slightly.
single national television.
That's pathetic
game.
by this game. You have the two best teams in the sport, and you're not trying to deliver it to the
Astros
flag
Yankees with Sunday
Yeah.
Night Baseball, and the Yankees are out of the playoffs.
Exactly. I think this really falls on Major League Baseball. If this was the NFL, this was the NBA. I mean, you would have that flexed into some
Every single
capacity.
game would have been a televised game.
It was on
Literally every
ESPN
game.
8, the Ocho. I mean, it was a day game on a Sunday. I mean, that had Sunday Night Baseball written all over. But I think really what
Which I
happens is
appreciated, no.
they front load a lot of
facts.
Dodgers games for nationally televised events. And I think, too, you don't want to oversaturate this matchup knowing that you're probably going to see it in the postseason.
Yeah,
So
that's the thinking for sure. I was gonna say let's touch a bit on the Marlins series in this road trip, but nope, I don't want to do that anymore. Let's go to center cam. Let's get the hell out of here. And I'm pretty
Oh,
sure it's
man.
gonna come with the. Oh, it didn't come with the little. I thought the super
I
chat
left
would
it.
be.
Let's just say
this guy. Look at this guy being an expert.
First job.
you're doing a fine job.
Fine.
Thanks, D-Mac.
Great.
Appreciate you, bro.
You're like the Ronald Acuna
Guys,
Jr.
shows
of
go.
producers.
Let's
I
get out
feel
of
like
here.
I'm the Mookie Betts of producers.
Should I just get out of here? Really? Guys, sorry. We need to clearly end the stream because these boys want to play some office basketball, but
Not
we
me.
do. Yeah, not him. He's on the IL still. But guys,
I'm on the 7-day.
we appreciate y'all hanging out with us for a Tuesday show. Thank you for. I forgot to alert people we're not doing a Monday show. I guess I did in the
Happy
stream.
Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day. Turned out to be a busy one for us unexpectedly. But find us on the internet at DodgersNation.com. Find us on the internet inside the Dodgers.com. All of your Dodger coverage lives there if you like being on the internet, which clearly you do because you're seeing us or hearing us or whatever. Subscribe to Blue Heaven. We are on iTunes. We are on Spotify. All your spots for your podcasts are available for free. We live there. Subscribe to YouTube, youtube.com/DodgersNationTV. We get to 70,000 subscribers. We're giving away a Mookie Betts jersey. We get to 75,000.
Bigger.
Even bigger, mo better, dominoes. I am Real FRG on Twitter and Instagram. That guy's DMac_LA on Instagram. The guy running the board today has been at Noah Cameras on just the Twitter. You know, do you even have an Instagram?
It's private.
I'm
It's
all in
kinda-
on the
Oh,
X
one of
now.
those.
I'm
It's-
all in
it's
on the X
private.
now.
I don't do the X.
I do. I love the X.
What happens when you type X on your laptop? Doug, let us know.
It goes to that site.
We are Dodgers Nation.
Xbox.com.
At Dodgers Nation, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. What was that one? The short-lived thing from
Threads.
Instagram, Threads.
Yo.
All of those spots. We have things everywhere. You know, maybe all of those. You should go follow us. Thank you for the comments, questions. Thank you for the super chats. We'll be back on Thursday, time undetermined. Thank you for hanging out. And we'll see you then. Bye.